Om. 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 Have you been chanting the mantra of Om during your communion with sacred? Have you been chanting the mantra of Om during your communion with divinity, during your communion with souls? You know what the communion, you know what the bond, you know, you know what the communion, you know what the bond, you know that interaction and be in the presence of sacred and be in the presence of divinity. You know what it is called? It is called meditation. Are you finding it comfortable every day while you are practicing this physical, very basic physical practice and as well as spiritual practice? The duration of your meditation is being longer and longer the more you are doing the meditation. Are you finding it easier now to sit comfortable but attentive and make sure your lower backbone is attentive as humanly possible? Because that is the gateway for consciousness or for Brahman, or if you are a religious person, there is nothing wrong with that. That is the gateway. You can call it God if you're a religious person. That is the gateway through which God consciousness, the sense of self awareness, or crystal clear consciousness runs through the accumulation, what you understand as body. So make sure when you sit attentive and you are totally awake, not only physically, but you are awake spiritually. Make sure your backbone is comfortable but attentive. Make sure that you are not, make sure that you are not leaning forward or bending over or any of those stuffs. You have not experienced anything. You have not experienced anything other than you have not experienced so far, whatever the time you have lived, the number of days and weeks and months and years, whatever the time you have spent on earth, you have not experienced anything other than now. So now you must learn to start living. Now you must learn to start living in now. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard we try, we still cannot come out of now. When we are having a thought in our mind, when we are pulling a thought from our memory to torment us, that's what we do. We, the humans, are addicted to misery and we never question. When we are pulling a thought from the past, we are still perceiving or having the thought in now. When we are fabricating our imagination based, when we are fabricating our imagination based on all the knowledge that we have gathered, and it is stored in terms of memory. Based on that, when we are fabricating our imagination, that's what you understand as future, or it is happening, or it would happen at some point. You are still perceiving that thought too in now. So you realize that no matter how hard you try, you cannot come out of now, which is the present moment. So you must learn now to start living and instill yourself in the present moment so you can attain the peace which fundamentally resides in you profoundly. Do you understand that much? What is reincarnation? You see, more than half of this world, reincarnation is a word just like any other word. Reincarnation is just a word just like any other word. Word is not that, you know that. Energy is not really energy. It's a phenomena which is happening. Yes is not really yes. It is a phenomena which is happening. Mallory is not really Mallory. Word is not that. Bridget is not really Bridget. It is phenomena. You think of the word, you see. If there were a lot of men around here, hypothetically speaking, I'm giving you an example to make you understand why we come up with the word, so we can communicate with each other, you see. If there were too many men around here, and if I wanted to identify one particular person among, if there were too many men around here, and if I wanted to identify or I wanted to address one particular person, if I say, ओम शिवा मेरे को शक्ति दे, ओम शिवा मेरे को शक्ति देने का, ओ काली माँ मेरे को शक्ति देने का, मेरे को शक्ति देने का. If I say that men, or among all these men which are standing over there, if I say, man, can you please come here? What do you think is going to happen? Nobody has any comprehension who I am addressing to. You see, this is the only significance, this is the only importance that word have. It's that it's a marker, so you can, it's a marker. It's a marker so you can identify people among too many of the people. It's a marker so you can identify to function and to get by. It's a marker so we can come up with the inventions. It's the unit to call somebody, identification which is abstract. Just like that, what you understand, just like that, what you understand is energy. Just like that, what you understand is energy, is not really energy, it's a phenomena. Energy existed long before you started calling it energy, isn't it? Now, where this energy is coming from? Energy existed before you started calling energy. I give you the metaphor that you are breathing. When you are breathing in, you, with your comprehension and understanding, you say, I'm breathing in oxygen. When you are breathing out, according to your comprehension and understanding, you say, I am exhaling or breathing out carbon dioxide. Truth of the matter is, you are not breathing in oxygen, nor Truth of the matter is you are not breathing in oxygen, nor you are breathing out or exhaling carbon dioxide. You were you existed. When I say you, I mean human race, not you personally, just in case if you didn't figure that out. Human race existed long before you came up with the words, just like that energy existed long before you give it a title, energy, you see. Now I started delivering this message, I mentioned a reincarnation. So we are trying to look at it very profoundly. Please keep in mind, there is no teacher here and there is no student here. Nobody is better than anyone. Nature only, cosmos or nature only recognize who is much aware and who is less aware. It's very simple. And we are all walking towards the same destination. We are all walking towards the same destiny, and we are helping each other basically walking towards the same destiny, and we are trying to make sure that we keep this journey on which we are walking on towards the same destiny as pleasant as possible. And the only way it can be achieved when we are walking with each other in unity, and only way it can be achieved when we are the only way it can be achieved that we are walking in unity, we are walking in peace, and we are encouraging each other. We are not, God forbid me, stepping on somebody else's throat to get ahead. You see, there is no race here. You understand? There is no race here. So we are going to look at this particular phenomena which we understand as a reincarnation. I told you about the energy, that energy existed long before you titled it the word energy. We have accomplished, I do not know if you have accomplished it or not, or if you are still struggling to understand a phenomena which, lack of the better word, what we understand as awareness or pure consciousness, lack of the better word, is just a sense, you see. Of course, consciousness and the sense of self awareness are also consciousness or the sense of self awareness are also words which is indicating to a concrete reality, which is indicating towards a concrete truth, that which is happening, you see. We 202 videos this morning when I woke up, and I was getting ready for my kriya, and I was getting ready for my meditation. 202, I took a look at my YouTube channel and I saw that 202 videos basically I have posted over there non-stop, one way or another. Not only we are looking into the different aspects, not only we are looking into the different aspects of life, not only we are looking at the things that seem to be the barrier in our spiritual growth as we try to grow spiritually. Not only we are looking in those 202 videos that things that seem to be the the factors that seem to be detrimental in our spiritual growth, but one way or another, just about in any other retreat, we we are bringing clarity about the sense of self-awareness or pure consciousness, which is nothing but a sense. That sense, that sense runs through every experience, and that sense runs through everything in creation, is the sense of I, which particularly does not belong to anyone in particular. I hope you understand that much. You see, had you not existed, no misery or no happiness, no bliss or no joy, no temptation or no problems, no family, no relative, no friends, no nothing, if you understand. No nothing would exist in your experience. The only reason you are experiencing everything and you are putting markers and label on this and what and you are creating your abstract reality basically is because you are existing in the very first place, isn't it? If you didn't exist in the very first place, nothing would exist. Would it exist? Nothing would exist. Would it exist in somebody's else experience? As far as you are concerned, you do not know, and that is a fair answer. But it would not exist in your experience. That is a given. You see, this much you know, this much you are certain that if you didn't exist in the very first place, nothing would exist in your experience. That much you are certain. Would it exist in somebody else's experience? You do not know, but you know that much for certain. This sense of self-awareness is just a sense. You see, have you not heard in the religious circle God is omniscient? Omniscient is something which is so potent, basically. Omnipotent, omniscient. It's something omnipotent, omniscient, something which is so potent that it cannot be destroyed, you see. A sense, obviously, you cannot destroy or you cannot kill something that you cannot see. Sense means you can only sense it. The word itself explains sense means that you can only sense it. But of course, you cannot see. It's not tangible that you can touch or you can move. It has no physicality. A sense does not have no physicality. And now, from the perspective of the mind, you can ask that how this sense came into being and when this sense came into being, the sense of self-awareness or consciousness through the perspective of mind. Obviously, when you are perceiving this reality, you are perceiving this reality in a linear way, but it's not the limitation of the reality, is the limitation of your perception. If you understand, we have talked about that numerous times. If you if you expand your awareness, then you would start. If you extend your awareness, when I'm saying you extend your awareness, I'm phrasing it in order to make you understand so you can easily comprehend. When you expand your awareness, it's not that you are expanding awareness. Awareness with its full magnitude and potency is always there. You are just trying to clear the fog, if you understand. I have given you numerous metaphors to understand that. For instance, sun is always shining in the morning time. Sun is out, but because of the clouds, the sunlight or the light cannot reach to us because of the clouds. You are following me, yeah? Now, if the clouds, because of the natural reasons, if the clouds are gone, now you can see clearly the sun and the light reaches you very fairly, and you say, this is such a beautiful day, this is such a nice day. That's why in all its truth and in all its detail, just like that, awareness is always there. But since your faith and the things that you bank on is everything you bank on outside of your own self, and you think that you can expand your awareness, you are living in a mirage. The more you are trying to get close to the mirage, the more it would go away and the distance would remain same. You must learn to look inside. You must Learn to look at your inner self. If you understand, you inside is the only way out, as one of my mentors, Sadhguru, says. Okay, now understand something. The sense of self-awareness is always there. It's since you cannot feel this sense of self-awareness because you have invested your faith outside and you bang too much outside of it. If you take your faith out of the superstitions, if you take your faith out of the cluttering that you have learned, all there remains is sense of self-awareness. Now when you see that it is happening in a linear form, something in your brain occurred, and maybe, let's say hypothetically, it is real, it's not hypothetical, but I'm using a marker to make you understand, makes you see everything is happening in a linear way. Nothing is happening in a linear way. Take a crimmage ball or a rubber ball. Have you seen a small rubber ball like a tennis ball, and try to find out where it has begun and where it is going to end. Are you understand? Take something spherical, take a round thing, and try to find out where is the beginning of it and where it is ending. Are you understanding the point I'm trying to make here? Hmm? The point I'm trying to make here, just because you are perceiving in a linear way, it does not mean it is happening in a linear way. You see, if you need to understand God or the limitless or the Brahman or the cosmos, then you have to go beyond the psychological drama and you have to go beyond the thinking process. You cannot comprehend that through logical mind, just like you try to comprehend every other thing around you. You see, this is something that you can only consume. This is something that you can only consume and experience it. And if you try to explain that, there is no way you can explain it, because no words are enough to explain what it is. It always has. When the sense interacts itself, it gives birth to the light, if you are understanding what I'm saying to you. When the sense interacts with itself, it gives birth to the light. It's very fair to say light is the first manifestation of God. There was a woman when I was conducting the survey, not the survey basically, I wouldn't say that. When I was volunteering myself, for an non-profit organization which compiles the interviews and collects the data of the near-death experiencing, I came across with a lady. I basically came across with a lady and I conducted the interview in order to get in order to find out what exactly happened as far as her near-death experience. Not the personal data, but as far as her near-death experience. I came to realize that according to the best of my wisdom and perception, this lady is telling the truth. At some point, she said that when she died, she witnessed the light. And in the light, there were beings and telepathic, and there a communication started between her, and she witnessed her grandma. Now please mind you, grandma was not in the physical form, obviously, but the tendencies you can feel the tendencies, but the tendencies of grandma was there, and she recognized those tendencies. She was only very young when the grandma passed away. So she looked at the grandma. Obviously, grandma was over there prior to this lady approaching the light. So she asked the grandma, is light God? And grandma answered basically, light is not God. Light is when God breathes. You understanding? Are you following me so far? Has your focus been intact with my words? As I have mentioned that I try to explain sometime, or I explain successfully sometimes something so difficult, something so difficult which is extremely difficult sometimes in words to explain, you see. but I try my level best and I make attempts to explain it to you so I can bring clarity in your perception. Grandmother replied that light is not God, light is not the source, light is what when God breathes. You see, God is such a generic term. This term is very, very common, and this term is very, very generic. So we would say it God. Otherwise, as I said, this is a phenomena. Everything that you have experienced in your entire life is a phenomena. Even the inventions human came up with, they use things which already existed out there. They use them and they put the labels and the markers on them to invent further and further commodities of luxuries. But human and science fails. The human mind fails. The human intellect fails. The science fails because science cannot bring out something out of nowhere. Science fails because science cannot bring something out of nothing. You see, that is the power and that is the magnitude of only eternity. You see, only eternity or kahuna or the cosmos or the Brahman is capable of it. No human can do it. You see, no human has ever done it to bring out something out of nothing, if you understand. Okay, so what happens basically? Light is the first manifestation of self awareness. Light is when God breathes. What does it mean? Why God needs to breathe? You see, is just an expression. It means the sense that you are, fundamental state of you is empty, a blankness. The fundamental the fundamental state of you is emptiness. The fundamental state of you is nothingness. The fundamental state of you is blankness, if you know what I mean. It's your very, very fundamental state. When I say your, it means remember. Remember the word remember. Remember not long ago. Shh, silent the mind. Shh. Remember, not long ago I mentioned the I in you and the I in me is the same I. The same I is in the cat, the same I is in everything in the creation. If you understand that I does not particularly belong to no one, it has no form, it's formless. As Lord Krishna or Shri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, which is the sacred book of Hinduism and essentially is an Upanishad, that fire cannot burn it. You see, air or wind cannot blow it. It has no form attached to it. It has no smell to it. It has no physicality attached to it. It has no weight in it. You see, all these attributes that I just mentioned, if you use your imagination and you imagine, you would come to realize that this obviously cannot be destroyed because there are no मेरे को शक्ति दे. There are no physical attributes or any type of attributes whatsoever are attached to it. You see, so when you use your imagination, that what I just explained, you come to realize that this cannot be destroyed. Any type of physical attributes or any type of attributes. Smell is not a physical attribute, but you can feel it, right? You can sense the smell, but it's not a physical attribute, but it does not even have no smell. So your first fundamental state basically is total blankness. Your first fundamental state is total emptiness, total darkness. That's why I said there are two types of darkness. One darkness is the darkness of ignorance, you see. But the second darkness is the divine darkness. The second darkness is the darkness of divinity. The second darkness is the darkness of sacred, which itself is divinity and sacred, which is dark. There is no need to be scared of darkness. You are scared of darkness because you are scared of unknown. You do not know what's in the darkness, but you are that darkness. I am that darkness. Everyone is that darkness, is the most purest and most fundamental state of the being, total darkness, you see. And then when this sense of self-awareness or pure consciousness and then when this sense of self-awareness or pure consciousness interacts, you see, it interacts with itself, it is aware of itself. That's why it is called self-awareness, isn't it? The term self-awareness is very the self-explanatory. That's why it is called self-awareness, because the sense it's aware of itself. The sense, when the sense interacts with itself, but not something outside, because there is no outside. Have you heard of a Sanskrit term, Advaita and Vedanta? Advaita, one without a second. You understand? Advaita is one without a second. It means, or non-duality, Advaita Vedanta. It means there is no second. It means there is no other. It means there is just Brahman. It means there is just sense, the sense of self-awareness. When the sense interacts with itself, now when it interacts, it manifests in the form of something that human mind can identify or anything in creation can identify. I hope you are following me so far. When this sense when this sense interacts with itself, basically, it manifests into the light. Now you understand, when there is nothing, what you understand, nothing, when there is no physicality there, when there is no border there, when there is no identifiable object there, when there is no trait over there through which you can gauge a form or a shape, then you say it's nothing. Not even the light, if you understand. Then you say it's nothing, or you say it's blankness, or you say it is void, or you say it is darkness, based on your comprehension, based on all the knowledge that you have exposed to. You would title it something. That's what the fundamental state. When then the sense of self-awareness basically interacts with itself. It gives birth to light, because light has objectivity attached to it. When there is nothing, light is something which reaches at some point and illuminates everything. But if there is no light, there is nothingness. So nothingness, if you understand what I'm saying, takes priority in the process, because nothingness is all there is. It takes priority. It is even prior. It is even prior than the light. You understand? It is even prior than the light. Light reaches afterwards. It's not that light is coming from somewhere, because light itself is the manifestation of the sense of self-awareness. Now the sense is interacting with itself, if you understand. And it is given birth to light. Light is the identifiable object. You see, when light is life, you see, now you understand. And life is energy, and energy was there before you titled or marker it energy. Energy was there before you titled or marketed it energy. You see, it was there. When you came into being, the name, the Nama Rupa, the Nama Rupa basically, the form and the shape. When you came into being, when you evolved in the human form, you titled and marked a lot of things, you see, in order to evolve and come up with the inventions. We just talked about that. But that energy, which is light, it is the energy in its purest form, if you understand. Life is energy, and it light, what you witness in the darkness, it is the energy, excuse me, it is the energy with it in its purest form. And then life gives birth to form and shape, which is what we understand in Sanskrit as Namarupa. Reincarnation is not something which is fictional. Reincarnation is not something which happens in the books. Reincarnation can be easily understood through common sense. You see, if you remain open, you do not jump into the conclusions, you do not discard it, or you do not believe it. If you just remain open, it can be understood through common sense, the openness towards it. Reincarnation, when people say reincarnation, spirituality can be seen in spirituality. Reincarnation, sometimes people basically affiliate the term with Hinduism. Some people are scared of reincarnation. Some people think that when this is over, it's over, which is rather foolish to think, you see. You were somewhere before you took this form, you would be somewhere after you lose this form. And I'm talking about our bodily demise. So, reincarnation, what happens, energy can only change form, but energy is not going to die. If you understand, even through the perspective of science, we have talked about that. Even through the perspective of science, we have talked about that, that energy cannot die, it can only change form. You see, energy itself is changing form. Um, the karma, which energy, it is like a magnet. Whatever we are performing in this form, whatever we are performing in this shape, basically, the tendency, what becomes the part, what becomes the part of our tendencies is what we do repetitively. If you understand, what we do repetitively becomes the part of our tendencies. What mind frame we spend most of our days, what mind frame we have when we communicate with each other, what is our intention, everything we are repeating, basically the mind frame we are living in, the level of awareness that we are aware of, to what extent everything shapes up basically the tendency which goes and attaches to this one point of energy. I am one point of energy, you are another point of energy. This is how it works. It is being imprinted on the points of energies. That's what we understand as karma. Karma, as long as there is human intellect, as long as there is human ego, as long as there remains the like, as long as there remains the dislike, as long as there remains the preferences, as long as there remains disliking towards something or anything in creation, disliking towards places, disliking towards humans, or liking towards human. As long as there is disliking or there is inclination, as long as your intellect basically is working, as long as your intellect is working, as long as you can approach and look at life through an analytical approach, what is and what is not. You see what is right and what is wrong, and how you carry the concept of right and wrong within you, if you understand. Everything, it shapes you and it makes you what you are. You see, it becomes a part of your tendency, and those tendencies basically are imprinting on your soul. Soul is, as I said, as long as only yesterday and the day before I mentioned that as long as there remains karma, there remains this three-dimensional experience, which is a very narrow band. And as long as there remain three-dimensional experience, the vacuum, basically, the vacuum in the Atman or in the soul is limited. You can only shove so much. The room inside is limited, you see. That's what we are saying here, soul or Atman, if you understand. And then these are just the expressions to bring clarity in your awareness. And those tendencies that you live, the functions that you are performing repetitively, the thoughts that you are incurring or gathering from the mind of humanity repetitively, everything literally imprints, you see, your liking, disliking. You have an unfinished business with somebody. That's why it is very significant, and that's why it is very, very important to forgive others, the one who have wronged you, so you can close your karmic account with the person. So that remains, that survives even after you die, or what you understand as death in the human terms, or bodily demise. That does not die, that does not go away. It is imprinted on what you are, basically. It's not imprinted on body. Body is the loan that you have. Body is the loan that you have taken from planet Earth. You see, body is the accumulation. Body is nothing, is the accumulation of food. Body is nothing, is the accumulation of environment. Everything and everybody that you came across with. You see, the climate you went, the entire atmosphere and the environment that shapes up your body. You see, it's a loan from this planet Earth. And this planet Earth is not going to let you leave until unless it receives everything atom by atom. Do you understand? It goes. So that's which survives the likes, the dislikes, you see, the human intellect, the human mind, until unless this mind is transcended. Now there are no likings. You see, if the mind, now I'm trying to show you, or rather, I'm showing you the other picture of this. If this mind is transcended, if this mind is transcended, then there are no dislikings now in this mind. If this mind is transcended, now there are no priorities in this mind. If this mind is transcended, now it's not like my people or your people. If this mind is transcended, now it is not like that I versus you, or we versus them, or they versus them, or anything, all these pronouns that I mentioned probably yesterday or the day before, you see, because you have transcended. Now you have one eye for the entire creation, the way you perceive yourself, the way you perceive the entire creation, if you understand. So that mind survives, you see, that liking, disliking survives. The human intellect survives. As long as there is liking, disliking, it would give birth, basically, to something what we understand in Sanskrit called samsara. Samsara generates, because of course you have unfinished business, so you would come back. You understand? To transcend yourself. It's the same thing when I say the goal of human life is to transcend karma, or the goal of human life is to find happiness, or the goal of human life is to get rid of the samsara. Means when you have meaning when you have gotten rid of the samsara, it means now you don't, if you have gotten rid of the karma, the liking, disliking, now you have one eye for the entire creation, then your karma is dissolved. There is no more samsara. You see, now you are outside of the circle of birth and bodily demise. So reincarnation, yes, it can be understood if you are open and it is common sense. The energy, actually the point of energy has attracted all the likings, dislikings, what is wrong, what is right. There are preferences of somebody, there are habits ingrained in one, and that person has to transcend everything and accept the entire creation as the person perceives herself or himself. And once that happen, basically, then you have dissolved your karma, then the samsara goes away, and then you are outside of the cycle of birth and bodily demise. If you want to come back, then you can volunteer yourself based on the suffering that humans are going through, and the dharma of humanity is down. But that is volunteer, you see. You have become the part of the light. You do not have to take another carnation. You do not have to take another carnation in order to dissolve karma, because there is no karma to dissolve now. There is just you in your purest form, if you understand. So that's what reincarnation is. Whatever survives, as far as there are preferences, liking, disliking, analytical approach, logical approach, I like this and that, then, or if there are addiction or numerous type of habits, basically, which are ingrained in you, not in your body, but in you, you see, it becomes a part of your tendency. You have to be, you have to become basically like a dry leaf that wherever air or wind blows it, it goes, you see. It does not have an intellect of its own. It has acceptance for everything and everyone in creation. Till then, you would keep coming back. The reason you keep coming back, the reason you are coming back is because so you can again transcend your karma and you can expand your awareness. When I say you can expand your awareness, it means that you can get rid of the cluttering on awareness. Awareness is all there and it is shining with its all magnitude. Awareness is all there and it is shining with all its potency. You see, it's always there. The magnitude is not fluctuating, the magnitude is not varying, if you understand. It is there. But since there is cluttering of ignorance, that there are numerous things that we have gathered in ignorance, me, you, everyone, as I mention always, and I remind you, make you remember time to time, there is no one better here. There is just who is more aware and who is less aware. So energy is changing form. Remember, through the perspective of science and physics, even we said that it is just energy which is changing form. Energy is changing form, so the energy can work itself to get rid of the tendencies. Nothing super fictional is happening. If you want to call that the reincarnation, go right ahead. You understand that now? If you want to attach a title or a word to it, and if you want to call it a reincarnation, you are very welcome to do so. You see, now you understand that the concept, not the concept, but the reality of reincarnation, for you to understand, becomes something from fiction or something superficial to something which is common sense, even through the perspective of science. Energy does not die, it just changes forms. Right now, you are in this form, you are accumulating karma, or you are dissolving karma, either way. When you are dissolving your dislikes, when you have acceptance, when you are dissolving preferences, when you are dissolving my people and your people, when you are dissolving pronouns such as I versus you, when you are dissolving pronouns such as we versus them, and then everything, and then you come to a point when where everything is just you, then you come to a point where everything is one, or you are one with you. These are just the different numerous ways to look at the same thing, if you understand that much. And I'm sure you do. I'm sure you are a wise person. So this is what happens, basically, that energy is changing form. Energy has to work itself in order to energy has to work itself in order to lose the tendencies that's been attached to it in form of karma. When this energy has shed all the tendencies, the likings, the disliking. It becomes the part of light, which is the life in its purest form. We talked about that. Light is the life in its purest form. Light is the first manifestation of what you essentially are, because what you essentially are is nothing but emptiness. But what you essentially are also is bliss. What you essentially are also is nirvana. What you essentially are also nothing but ecstasy. You see, that sense has all that in you. That's why we, the yogis, the meditators, the wise people, we tell you that everything is within you. The peace you are looking for is not outside. It resides in you. It always has and it always will. All you do is to unclutter yourself from the lies that you have learned in the process of domestication and in the process of conditioning. Some of these lies are very significant in order for you to survive in the society. You see, we have told you everything in detail in numerous retreats. Now you understand the reality of a reincarnation becomes something common sense from something super fictional, superstitious, or fiction. Now you understand that. It's nothing happening, energy is just changing form in order, energy is working itself out, energy is working itself out in order to shed the preferences, the liking, dislikings, and then it goes back to its it's not very, I wouldn't say very, but it goes back to its fundamental state, the first manifestation of self-awareness, and it becomes the part of the light. Beyond that, there is just that sense. Beyond that, there is just void. Beyond that, there is just nothingness. Beyond that, there is just darkness, if you understand. That's what we understand as a reincarnation. You see, energy reincarnation is equal to reincarnation is equal to reincarnation is equal to energy tossing and turning, changing its forms, working itself to get rid of the negative traits, to get rid of the liking, disliking, to get rid of the the element of discrimination, to get rid of the pronouns I versus we. And when it has experience, or it has experienced life in every shape or form that life has to offer, it goes back to the light where it started in the very first place. You see. So if you want to call it reincarnation, reincarnation is not something that you have read in the holy books. Reincarnation is not something that you have read in the fictional books, if you understand. Reincarnation is not something that you have read in certain Hindu books. Reincarnation is common sense. Reincarnation can be understood through common sense. Reincarnation can be understood if you remain open, if you do not discard it. Reincarnation can be understood if you do not accept it, but you just remain open and look at it not only through the perspective of science or physics, but through the perspective of common sense. It can be understood. Energy changing form, that's it. Trying to work itself out. Mhm. Mhm. Nothing worth it. Not a single thing worth it. Only the life which is going in this accumulation, and only the life which is coming out of this accumulation worth it, because it carries those tendencies. Make no mistake. Obviously, it's not tangible. You cannot see it, but you feel it. You cannot see your emotions. You cannot see the sentiments. You cannot see the sense, but you perceive all that. It's very real. It's also it's also the it's also including your perception. You perceive it. It's very real. It changes you. Not your if it may not change your body, because it body has physicality, but something changes within you. Something changes within you when you perceive an emotion, when you perceive a sentiment, when you perceive a sense, something changes within you, and you are very aware of that change. You are the one who's perceiving it. So nothing, as I repeat again, nothing really worth it. Only the life which is going in, and only the life which is coming out. All those tendencies are being imprinted on something that you cannot see. It has no physicality, it is not tangible, but you perceive it, you feel it, it's very real. A thought which makes you uncomfortable, you cannot see the thought. Thought does not have that kind of, it has no tangibility attached to it, it's not tangible, but you are perceiving the thought. Thought basically is making you uncomfortable or bringing peace in your mind. Something is changing. If you are moving from the feeling of uncomfortable or the feeling of restlessness towards the feeling of happiness, it means that something changed, distance change. See? So remember something. The bottom line of what I just said, the paragraph, you know what that is? The bottom line of that is nothing worth it. Only life, which is going in and coming out, worth it. Only invest on that. Because this obviously is going to be here, is going to remain here. It is the loan that we have gotten from planet Earth or Mother Earth. Keep meditating and remember that I love you.